excited for this opportunity to discuss the evolution of the pigeon. And we'll start with doing some introductions. My name is Maria McCune. I'm the Associate Director of Student Affairs, and I coordinate orientation with a larger group of people. But I help coordinate orientation at SVA. And one of the essential elements of orientation at SVA has always prioritized highlighting student design. So here with us, we have a couple of people who have fulfilled those roles.
I'm Olivia. I'm 2021 BFA Design alumni. It was like 3 years. It didn't feel like 3 years, but it was 3 years, 2020 through 2022. And then Mona stepped in and...
Mona, introduce yourself.
I am class of 2023 BFA Design. And yeah, then I got the file handovers from Olivia and I helped do it for orientation 23 and 24.
I'm Bill Martino and I have the opportunity the last 13 or so years, hopefully another 13 or more, to work with and lead the student affairs team, which is an incredible team of professional staff members and students, of course. With that, I would now like to ask James to introduce yourself. Let us know why you're in this group.
My name is James. I'm BFA 2027 comics, so still currently a student. And I was the chosen student contributor, one of three, who ended up making the finalized design for sva, our school mascot.
Everything started with WIGA. Back in 2015, when I started coordinating orientation design was very basic. We were just doing names of departments on tabletops for our welcome luncheon, but knowing that there could be so much more, we ran with it. WIGA was the first person that we hired as an official orientation designer who created specific content for orientation. And WIGA developed our fall 2018 welcome poster, which was a subway grate with a background of buildings and two pigeons on the subway grate. And I know that this is Bill's favorite part of the story. When WIGA originally showed me that design, I was like, WIGA, these pigeons are too big. It shouldn't be about the pigeons. It should be about New York City. But of course, we showed the design to Bill. And Bill said, no, we should make the pigeons bigger. We need more pigeon. And that was the start of it. Mona took the concept that originally was developed by Olivia of identities and created poster identities with the pigeons. And that is the design that we are still using until this year. This will be the last year that we feature the Subway Series poster design. And then next year we will create a new design also featuring pigeons, because now that we've made our bed, let us lie in it comfortably and take ownership, right? That if savvy was possible today, it surely started from a very ridiculous conversation about two pigeons on a subway entry railing.
Yeah, so the main idea for the orientation design I did was based on the SVA iconic subway posters. When I was looking at schools and deciding which art school to go to in the city, I remember I was taking classes in the city and I had seen the SVA posters in the subways and I was like, oh, I should look into that school. And then looking at all the posters, especially Milton Glazer's, that made me partially want to go to SVA. Seeing the work is actually out in the world and especially very New York City influenced. So taking the posters, we applied those to pigeons, Maria and I took some of the more recognizable ones and made a few characters to match them. So there's a doors poster that Milton Glaser did where it's SVA opens all these doors for everyone and these opportunities. So there's a pigeon, it's a door pattern. There's the pencil where it's a circle pencil and it's stuck in the eraser. And what do you do if you have great talent but nowhere to hone it in and learn skills? Just going back in my art, a lot of my art's influenced in New York and I go to parks a lot and just sketch people. And of course pigeons just pop up in those sketches anyway. So my original pigeon sketches are kind of based on just I'll do very circular doodles and sort of one-line doodles. So those pigeons that I drew evolved from those really curly one-lines. And I got to apply them to the posters and then also to Olivia's idea of all the majors, which was fun to think of all my friends from different majors at SVA. And I'm what tools do they carry? What do they wear? What's the stereotypical film student accessory or whatever? And then being able to apply those little like accessories to a simple doodle pigeon that I did. That was fun to do.
So when we first started working on the orientation designs, we were faced with the challenge of the pandemic where we didn't even know if we were going to make an orientation poster. And it was all like really touchy, and we were all trying to figure out what's even possible while also dealing with everything on our own too, which is also the whole other challenge of that. And we pivoted to the orientation blog, which I think was really awesome. There were multiple ways that we used these pigeons to capture all of the different parts of New York that we couldn't even like go out and see. We talked so much about how to make each pigeon feel like each department and also feel universal for each department, and like diversified enough where everyone felt included. And similar to Mona, I got to put a little bit of Easter eggs and include my friends in different departments for different pigeons also, which was really fun. It's really awesome to see how far we could take it in a digital space. And because we're all like really talented, creative people, we all were able to just have a hand in developing it. And like the New York City is Your Campus series, it was really awesome to see how everybody interpreted it to their own degree.
After student interest started growing in terms of we were featuring a lot of pigeons in orientation. All incoming students were being exposed to pigeons in some way or another. Bill in particular was engaging our student leaders in pigeon swag, which I think further increased the interest. Our students started asking if the pigeon was our mascot. And I think for the first few years, it was sort of like comical, like, yes, no, not really. Let's, we'll keep on with our business. But eventually a proposal was submitted to VASA, or a request was submitted to VASA, Visual Student Association, our student government, to contemplate whether or not the pigeon should be made into the official mascot. And VASA, being true student representatives, determined that the students should be involved in the creation of the design. So we engaged the offices that needed to be a part of it in terms of the SVA branding, but a student contest was advertised and 3 finalists were selected who proposed designs, and the designs were voted on by the fellow student body. And that is how we ended up with James and Savvy.
How it started actually was the year before I had gone to Bill's office, started talking about like, oh yeah, they're thinking of making a pigeon mascot. And I was also gifted some pigeon swag. And like offhandedly, I was just like, oh yeah, like I wonder if that's gonna happen. And then a year later, I saw a poster that was asking for student contributors to the pigeon designs. And I was like, why not? Like, I might as well submit to this. And let me actually share my screen and I'll show off what I had first submitted. So what I had first made was this little guy. And the name was actually Always Savvy. That was a name that I always liked as kind of a play on SVA and also our art savvy students, which developed into this as my original pitch that I submitted to VASA to look at. I ended up being chosen along with 2 other contributors, who was Chantel Alonso, who has since graduated, and Xian Chen, who is also a sophomore, or was a sophomore like me. And together we submitted these final 3 designs to be voted on as who would be the official mascot. It was between Savvy and Manny, who was designed by Chantel, and Patch, who was designed by Xian. And we actually went through tons and tons of iterations to land on the ones that we were interested in. We actually had this entire board, which was designs that all of us had submitted that played on, do we want ones representational? Do we want ones that were more silly? And these designs went all over the place. Like there are so many different variations. And these were my main pickings. And the one that everyone was the most attached to was this little design that we called the Noodle, because of his little noodle body. And that became Savvy. It really took so many iterations and so much of, is this clear enough? Is this cute? Do we feel like this feels like the SVA? I know a big thing was that I wanted to include the SVA blue and red that appears so much. And it went all over the place until we eventually landed on Savvy. and he was the one who the student body voted for, and I couldn't be happier about it. And it's just like really fun to see also how we had influenced one another while we were working on it together, and you can kind of see how each of them developed. I had a lot of my favorites from each of them. These specific three that the three of us had designed are some of my favorites.
I don't think that people necessarily look at pigeons and think, oh, they're so cute, right? Commonly referred to as like flying rats. But Riga had managed to make cute pigeons. And had his pigeons probably not been as attractive to look at, I don't know that the rest of this would have transpired the way that it did, because his pigeons made it appealing, and then Olivia's pigeons gave identity, and then Mona's pigeons gave them elegance and style, and now we have James, who has literally breathed life, like I said, into making a pigeon person. It was the whole reason why the Subway series was invented in the first place. It was for the purpose of making sure that people knew that SVA was an option that people could come and receive an education at. And here we are, 75 years later.
Here we are. So, Maria, that's actually, you just shared your huge contribution that you always wanted there to be, student-led designs, have it connect with New York City, have it connect with SVA in New York City together. And I'm just glad you saw the beauty in those first two pigeons. You allowed them, in your leadership of the orientation program, to get larger and larger and larger. Savvy brings joy to everyone. This is great. Makes everyone feel good about being in New York City, I think. So kudos to you, James, and major kudos also to you, Olivia and Mona. Without the two of you, I honestly, we would not get to James, and there would be nothing about pigeons, really.
Everybody contributed in tiny ways to this moment.
Indeed. And I can't thank all of you enough.